Welcome, listeners, to Through the Sightglass, a podcast that dives deep into the fascinating world of craft beer and celebrates the incredible individuals who shape its vibrant landscape. Join us on a journey where we explore the nuances of this amazing industry and the remarkable people who contribute to its richness and diversity. And today, we have the pleasure of sitting down with the people of Austin Street Brewing. Thank you guys so much for giving us your time.
Thank you all.
Thanks for coming in.
And I know we just kind of introed y'all. Would y'all both tell us your name and kind of your role here at Austin Street?
I'm Jake Austin, owner, founder, currently do a lot of work in the back of house, like cellaring and that sort of thing. That's always been my side of the business, is sort of the brewing, actual production side, and that continues today.
Yeah, very nice.
Will Fisher, second of two co-founders, and I'm kind of always on the other side of the business, as is typical, so operations, finance, HR, all that good stuff.
Yeah,
Nice. So is that 3 owners in total? So this is 2 out of 3, or is this
just 2 of us?
Okay, just 2 of us. Yep. Gotcha.
Very cool. Yeah. All right. So let's start out. Like, where did y'all grow up?
We actually grew up in the same town, but we didn't know each other. We didn't meet until we were adults. So we grew up in the same town with like 3,000 people, but I don't think we ever crossed paths somehow.
That's wild for such
Here
a
in
small
Maine?
town.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, little town called New Gloucester.
Okay.
Yep, I think I was just like opposite side of town, and not enough of an age difference. I was like a senior when you were a freshman in high school,
gotcha.
so
Yeah.
enough of a gap there. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure we saw each other at some point.
I'm sure if y'all went through this happened to my sister and my brother-in-law. They went through some of their photos. They lived in opposite sides of Texas, and they went to the same summer camp. And they found a picture of them, and they're in the same picture, but they didn't know each other, and they were like in middle school. So I'm sure if y'all went through
that's kinda
like
freaky.
some photos or something, I'm sure y'all might find something.
Definitely in the background.
Yeah, it
some
could be.
photos. Yeah.
The town is like 3,000 people. There's one gas station. There's no stoplights.
I'm so surprised y'all did it.
That's wild.
That is
That's
wild.
wild. My mom is living currently in a town in Oregon that is like 3,300 people, and everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So what was it like growing up in a small town in Maine?
Quiet. Kind of a small friend group, and just kind of used to do a lot of bike riding and swimming in the nearby lake, and that's about it, honestly.
Yeah.
Nice. A lot of outdoor stuff.
Yep,
Nice.
absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like Mainers are pretty resilient and also stubborn, and they don't talk to each other a lot. Obviously, never met each other, but if something ever comes up, it's like everyone shows up and helps out, and kind of that barn raising thing. So,
nice.
But otherwise, people pretty much stick to themselves. Yeah, very quiet and just kind of hanging out.
Yeah.
We've always heard that like the difference between East Coast and West Coast people is if you have a problem, an East Coast person will tell you like you're an idiot and stupid, but they'll help you. Whereas a West Coast person won't help you, but be like, oh, but I know somebody who can, and then it won't actually get you help.
Yeah.
So
That's been the difference between us being on the West Coast and then coming out here. It's been really nice.
Sounds better over here.
Yeah, for sure. We've enjoyed
Portland.
it. Yeah. So did y'all have siblings? What y'all's parents do? Kind of home life.
One older sister, and parents were nothing too special, really. No offense to them. But my dad was a carpenter. My mom was a paralegal secretary. So just, pretty conservative jobs, and just they moved here from Ohio to start a new life in the 70s, and that's when I came along. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Nice standard American household.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. What about you, Jake?
I have one younger brother and one younger sister. Mom was always a stay-at-home mom when I was younger, which is pretty awesome. She does like nursing, CNA type stuff nowadays, and has been for a while, I guess. But she was always around growing up, which was awesome. Parents were divorced though, so Dad moved out of state a while ago, but he was always in like the baking sort of industry, mass production of bread and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Very cool. Yeah.
What was it like being the older brother and kind of being the example to set for your younger siblings?
I don't know if I understood that well when I was that age or whatever, but interesting dynamic. Yeah, pretty solid age gap between me and The other two, like my sister's 6 years younger than me.
Oh, okay,
My
gotcha.
brother's like another 4 years on top
Okay.
of that. So
I see.
pretty solid age gap, but yeah, I don't know if I was probably the best role model, but probably not the worst.
There's a lot of thinking in between the children. I like that. It's like, should we have another one? And then it hits an age where like, yeah, let's do it. And then it's like, oh, we're not going to do this again.
Yeah, no, for sure.
It's okay. That role is hard to fill. I'm one of 9 siblings, a blended
Oh,
family
my.
as well.
Yeah.
And I don't think my older brother, which none of us really knew
Yeah.
the roles in hindsight of like what that really meant. He was just kind of like, survive on your own, dude. I don't know what you need to do for me. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, cool. So, high school, any activities that y'all really enjoyed? Any hobbies that y'all?
I don't know, never big sports people, either of us.
I played like organized sports up until high school probably when it
Yeah.
actually got like competitive and whatnot.
Right.
But yeah, always like basketball and baseball, like with
Okay.
friends, just like super unofficial.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, I started getting into cars
Okay.
sort of later in high school life and
Okay.
that sort
Like
of.
fixing them up and
Yep,
stuff.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Did you
Then,
have one that you like was your first one, or the one that you like were?
My first car was a 1988 Ford Mustang.
Oh,
It was like a
nice.
4-cylinder one. It was
Yeah.
dead slow.
Yeah.
Super reliable, good gas mileage. The first car I got that really got me into cars was a Volkswagen Rabbit GTI.
Oh wow,
It
yeah.
really turned me on to like really like modifying and like having a fun car.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
That's
Yeah,
so cool.
The fine tuning aspect.
I love that so
And this is
much.
not dating you, but I think that was probably back in the day where there were still shop classes. Because I was in
Yep.
high school when you still had wood shop, and then that's in my high school days. That's when it stopped. They're like, we're no longer offering wood shop.
Yeah,
So
no, for sure.
Yeah, not sure when that happened, but yeah, I just realized recently. I was like, they probably don't do that
They
anymore, do
don't.
they? And it's like, no, they definitely don't.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like it's a computer class. That's
Right.
what-
yeah,
for-
it's no fun when there's natural selection. We're just gonna safety bumper everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
no,
our
for
shop
sure.
teacher definitely was missing like some fingers. And
Multiple, yeah.
Yeah.
He'd
At least ends
poke
of
people in the
fingers.
chest with his nubs. Like
No.
if you're misbehaving, he'd like, what
Yeah.
do you say?
This could be you.
We'd be like, don't get nervous.
Oh yeah, he'd be like, because you get all worked up and you're like playing with power tools. He's like, "Don't get nervous, son."
Oh my
When you're, like, around the shop, it's like obviously he had gotten nervous at some point and
Oh.
cut
Lost a
some of his
finger?
fingers off.
That's
Oh my
missing
gosh.
multiple portions of multiple fingers.
I love it.
That's
So
so
very important impressions from like life lessons taught early on
Yeah.
for this one shot teacher.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like look at this. Like,
Yeah.
Don't end up like me.
Yeah. So, Will, what were you into?
some of the same stuff, like mountain biking with friends. So usually things that had to do a lot of independent stuff. So I
Yeah.
played like a little bit of golf when I was in high school, but not. I was never great at sports. So I'm 6'4", so I get the basketball question all the
Gotcha.
time. But it really just ends up getting stuff off the shelf for people at Hannaford. So
Yeah.
that's really where I shine. But yeah, mountain biking a ton. It was like all bikes. That's like all I did. I always had a mountain bike.
Nice.
And then immediately, as soon as I got my license, I immediately stopped riding and started getting into cars too.
Yeah, okay.
So, and that's kind of how we originally met, was through the car scene.
Yeah.
But I was driving Japanese cars early on, so like Hondas, and then switched over to Volkswagen, Audi later
Okay.
on. We both got in the automotive industry for careers before beer, which I'm sure you'll probably ask us about. But
Yeah.
it was all
absolutely.
kind of like rolled into that. So.
Okay.
Oh
yeah.
wow. Well, I mean that's perfect
Yeah, we-
transition then. You know, coming out of high school, obviously focused on cars, fine tuning, the technology in them, and innovation. Did that play into college, or did you just go straight into the trade, or what would that look like for both of you?
I went straight to work.
Oh,
Honestly,
okay.
didn't really have any interest in college.
Mhm.
Also didn't know if I was going to work on cars for 10 years like I did, but yeah, maybe not my favorite thing to do for a living, but definitely it's coming back now that I've been separated from it enough, kind of getting back into modifying cars and kind of
Nice.
having project cars and whatnot.
You
Did
get to
you-
find that passion and joy again.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly, yep.
We like to spoil our passions and turn them into careers.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Hence this.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's going to be next?
Yeah.
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 Your next hobby. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Did you move away from your hometown, or did you stay there?
So yeah, we grew up in New Gloucester. I moved around southern Maine to kind of bounced around to a few different spots. Never moved out of state. Traveled quite a bit, but yeah, kind of southern Maine's always been home base for sure.
Okay.
Whenever I leave the state, I'm really happy to come home. And
Nice.
Yeah.
We do like. Does it say on the sign? It says "Welcome Home." Is that what it says when you enter
So,
Maine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
We
did
enjoyed
that
that.
a few days ago. We were like,
It's a nice vibe.
it's not our
Yeah.
home, but it feels like it for the time
Yeah.
being.
Yeah, it's different. Was it New Hampshire's like live free or die?
Yeah. Big transition. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Big transition.
What about you, Will? What did you do after high school?
I went to University of Maine for a couple years, but I spent some money before I found out it wasn't for me. And like Jake made the smart move, just never going in the first place. Did a lot of partying. And then I went to tech school for auto. So I went to automotive tech school in Pennsylvania and got my associates there, and then came back and just started working in auto shops. So I was probably 21 years old at the time.
Okay.
Nice.
And then, just rolled with that we were both basically in auto for like a decade.
Then you guys keep in contact too?
Well, when did y'all meet?
We
Then?
hadn't even met. We didn't meet until later. These are all things that are happening
Yeah.
parallel.
Oh,
Yeah.
gotcha.
We met probably, I don't know how old we were, how old I was. I don't remember.
Well, I mean, a key factor here is the fact that I was married to Will's sister,
Oh,
Oh yeah, I forgot about
and
that.
that's how we
Gotcha.
initially that's how we really
that
officially
is,
met.
yeah.
Yeah, then we discovered, of course, a lot of common interests and whatnot.
Yeah,
Okay.
former brother-in-laws we outlasted the marriage
Yeah.
by several
Nice.
years now. So we're
Nice.
still kicking.
Congrats.
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, we don't celebrate our anniversary
Yeah.
or anything, but we saw the brewery anniversary, but not our personal
Yeah,
anniversary.
there
But
you go. There
we're
you
still
go.
going. So still going.
Lovely.
So tell us a little bit of that story. So y'all are both working in automotive shops. When did y'all end up being in the same city and then crossing paths?
Let's see. It would have been probably like 2005, I would say. Around
Okay.
there is when we first, Catherine and Jake first started
Okay.
dating. Then I was a third wheel. If I was
Yeah.
single, I was like their third wheel. So I was going to have dinner over there, and then we bonded over our love for anything with an engine, really.
Okay.
And then that turned into beer.
Yeah.
We started doing beer stuff together. So.
Yeah. So
Nice.
going back a little bit, did y'all drink? You said you drank in probably high school or college. Was there beer in y'all's houses growing up? Like, what did that culture look like for y'all?
I was only ever exposed to like cheaper beer,
Yeah.
honestly, macro beer.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first started, the first time I had beer was like a Bud Light,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, okay, I guess I'm not going to be a beer guy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Don't really enjoy
Yeah.
this at all.
Yeah, just something golden fizzy.
You
Yeah.
know, and I would just go to parties and just like hold on to a beer, like
Yeah.
sip on it, just like fit in or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I discovered craft beer that things really sort of took off.
Nice. Is there a specific moment, like what beer that was? Do you remember?
Shipyard, a local brewery, wasn't the first beer I loved, but it was the first beer, like their export ale was the first beer I had. I was like, oh, this has like body and flavor. There's something here. It's not just kind of watery and thin. It has bitterness and that sort of thing. But from there, I think it was really Sam Adams, their Oktoberfest in
Yeah.
particular. I
Oh,
was
nice.
Like, oh, this is what I like.
Yeah.
It's malty, sort of smooth beer.
Nice,
I
yeah.
loved it at the time, and then just kind of
That started the fire.
There, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. What about you, Will?
I mean, parents not big drinkers. My dad always had. He was from Ohio, so he liked to keep Rolling Rock in the fridge. He called it the Green Death.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
what
yeah.
we called it. And he liked green bottle beer. He'd have Heineken too, but his go-to local was Geary's Pale Ale. So
Oh,
local,
yeah.
kind of same level
Yeah,
as
very
Shipyard.
similar,
Yeah.
And he was a Boilermaker guy, so he'd have Gary's Pale Ale and like a glass of Jim Beam out of
Yeah.
the cupboard
Yeah.
on the side, neat
Yeah.
on the side. So
Love it.
That was
Becoming
his.
more
That
like
was
your
his
dad
jam.
every day.
yeah, that was his jam. And then I think, cheap beer early on, kind of whatever did the trick back then. It might as well have been a pill at that point. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like there's no enjoyment of the liquid.
Right.
No,
It
yeah.
was just a delivery device.
Yeah, it's just-
alcohol delivery device.
Just getting you
Right.
somewhere.
Yeah. And then, I think some local spots, but I remember getting Sierra Nevada Pale Ale was really one we could get at the gas station or at like the smaller beer stores around here that sort of ticked the box. And then a lot of like the West Coast stuff started to roll in, some of the larger like Stone, like Stone IPA, Stone Arrogant Bastard, stuff like that. Started
Yeah.
kind of like rolling in some of those larger craft breweries. And then we got into, I think, Maine Beer Co. It was called Spring Peeper Ale back in the day. So now it's
Okay.
called
Oh,
Peeper.
gotcha.
That was one of the ones that you introduced me to. And we were both like, holy shit, like this is
Yeah.
beer can be like this.
Yeah.
Super light, super hoppy, and not clear. And it's like,
Yeah.
whoa, this is so
A
cool.
little
So,
haze to it.
Yeah,
That
that's
haze flavor, just a whole new world. Were you guys home brewing at this time?
Yeah, I started home brewing at some point. I can't remember like the exact year or whatever, but yeah, towards the end of my automotive career, I spent like a ton of time home brewing, and you'd come over and hang out and drink the beer.
Yep.
And I think a big thing for us too, worth mentioning, is Novare Res, a local bar here in Portland. One night I went down there and started their like uprising list, they call it. You drink 230 beers and you get your own like, engraved mug.
Oh wow.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
I just like texted him. I was like, "Come down here, like bring $20.
Yeah.
You're doing this with me,
Yeah.
basically." So
And I didn't want to come. But it's also the day you guys got engaged. So you're trying to drag me down there to tell me that you got engaged to my sister. And I was like,
something.
I'm chilling. I'm not coming out tonight. I'm going to hang around. They're like, you really should come down and like do this thing with me. But yeah, we did the whole list together
did it.
basically, that was kind of like our beer education together. Like we
Yeah.
tasted all these Belgian beers, all these different things. And we found out we like a lot of the same stuff, and really
Right.
got a really cool education through that.
Yeah.
How long did it take you all?
It was different for both of us, but it was like a year and a half
Okay.
for me. I
Gotcha.
think.
And I waited towards the end for my last beer until my birthday, and had like
okay.
a faux, not a faux, it was a legit birthday party there.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, it was quite a mess.
That's
Well, that's
wild.
awesome.
That's so cool. Do y'all get to keep the mics, or is it?
Yeah.
Are they, okay. Okay.
Yeah, if you
gotcha.
go there, you can see the chalice. It's called the chalice room, and there's all these little cubbies of everybody's chalice,
Yeah.
and you can people decorate their cubbies. It's like a little living room. and they put
Okay.
the
Oh,
chalice in
very
the middle.
cool.
So yeah, we're like on the early side. We're like number 100, something around there.
Wow.
And you can still enter it, and they don't take people all the time. It depends how many like active people
Right.
there are looking to get into it.
Okay.
But
Gotcha.
you can throw it on still $20. You throw it down, you get a list, and you start checking off
Just
beers.
searching up beers.
Oh, that's awesome.
But-
We have been there. It's
We
a
have.
beautiful beer bar.
It is
I was
beautiful.
like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And it was also good. Like we were on a budget, so if there's something on the list that's $7.50, you could split it and both get credit for it. So we
Oh.
go in there and split $7.50 is a lot. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Anything above like a 500 ml, I think you can split. So,
Gotcha.
Okay. Wow. Do y'all remember some of like y'all's favorites, or that still stick with y'all?
Were there any like super special beers that you had the opportunity to drink? Because that list is super
Yeah.
impressive. Yeah.
I don't know.
I think the biggest thing for me was sour beer.
Uh-huh.
I hadn't really had sour beer before then, and I just like fell in love,
Yeah.
honestly. And on the flip side of that, I had never had anything that was terribly smoky.
Okay.
And I still don't love beers that are like super duper smoky. We do a smoky brown ale, but it's like much more low key. Some of those European like Rausch beers are just
Right.
Yeah.
like smoke bombs.
Straight sausage.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like was
For
it
sure.
Schlenkerla or whatnot?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so wild. Well, that's
gets
so
caught
cool.
gets caught in your sinuses. You're like,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I really enjoy that type of smokiness,
Yeah.
but it also is. It's sour and smoky beers are great. I think introduction, because the first thing I always usually think is like, this person's not going to like this, but I promise you, if you just like give it 5-10 minutes and take a few sips, you're not going to love it, but you might have be like an appreciation
Yeah.
for it.
I definitely didn't like sour beer the first time I had it, and now I love it.
Yeah, I think it was Goza was the first one that you
Goza,
had,
it is-
and
it was
we
a-
made one at a brewery at Seven Seas called Water Chopper, and it was pretty tart.
It felt like I was on like a jet ski, and I like was on the ocean, and like I had water just like spraying, like seawater just like
In your
spraying
mouth.
into my mouth, and I was like, "Ugh."
Yeah, but so it was. We poured a pint of it, and I was like, "Listen, it'll be
He
cold." I was like, "Take a sip, and then like chill, and then take another sip and chill." And then after a while, she's like, "Oh, I think I get some of the nuances," and I was like, "Yes." And I was like, "And now don't pound like 5 of these." I had
Yeah.
I had a friend that pounded 5 blueberry sour beers, and I told him, I was like, "Dude, you're gonna have a tummy ache." He's like, "Nah, man, I think I'm
fine."
good." And then we were walking to another beer bar, and he's like, "My gut is just killing me," and
You're
I'm
like,
like,
"It's in a
"I ain't no
knot."
scientist, dude, but I am kind of a scientist."
That's a
I-
lot of acidity.
Yeah, I know
A
how
lot
body
of low
pH works.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so wild.
not the beer you want to be crushing.
No, definitely not.
Absolutely not.
Definitely not. Okay, Jake. So you're home brewing.
Yep.
Do you remember how you got into it? Did you like friends do it, or we've heard the stories of like significant others or moms giving them
A Mr. Beer kit or
like
whatever.
Mr. Beer kit for
Yeah.
Christmas or something?
It was a kind of combination of things. First was just kind of a time waster. Like
Okay.
I had time at home on the weekends, and also enjoyed craft beer, obviously, at the time.
Right.
That combined kind of with the fact that the Maine beer scene was nothing like it is now.
Yeah.
And so there were a lot of styles of beer that we just couldn't get here, really, like reliably fresh, like almost like New England style IPA. It wasn't really a thing back then,
Right.
but I'd been to Hill Farmstead, and I was like, I want that at home. So yeah, started brewing some of those style beers, just kind of satisfy my own appetite, really.
Right.
Do you remember your first recipe that you brewed?
The first thing I ever brewed, I believe, was a porter.
Okay.
And I don't think I saw it to completion. And I think that was just an error on my part, like not understanding that fermentation can kind of smell and be kind of weird. But
Oh, gotcha. You thought it was like
Right.
bad already or
I
whatnot?
think I thought it was bad already. And it might not have been great, obviously, but the first beer I brewed and saw to completion was just like a kit IPA.
Okay.
Like extract, whatever, like
Nice.
super entry level, but it came out flavorful and
Yeah.
bitter. And
Oh,
yeah,
awesome.
Probably wasn't outstanding. If I tasted it now, I'd probably be like,
Standards different. Yeah.
definitely drinkable. Definitely like sparked something.
Yeah.
For sure.
Do you remember the beer that you did that you were like, oh, I want to do this, or I can do this?
I mean, the beer, our flagship beer, Patina Pale Ale, was definitely the first beer that I was brewing like on a regular basis. Constantly changing, but always like a 5% sort of light-bodied golden pale ale.
Oh, nice.
The first one, I don't know, probably the Milk Stout was
Yeah.
the first one. I really got excited because, again, that was a beer that like we had tasted at a beer festival, Duck Rabbit Milk Stout, which is outstanding.
Oh, yeah.
But there was nobody doing a Milk Stout
Right.
in Maine or anywhere close to that. So I started homebrewing those. And
Wow.
that's like the one beer we've
do love
always
Milk
brewed
Stouts,
like
yeah.
very traditionally, like straight ahead. Like there's no twist on the style or anything. We
Right.
just do it.
Nice.
It's fun too because it's a fun beer to build up with all the specialty malts, and at that size, it's not as complicated because it's just a small batch. But yeah, it's fun beer to brew, and it's a really impressive beer if you can pull it off at
Yeah.
home.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause there's just so
Seriously.
much character, and you're like, whoa, where does this all come from?
Oh, yeah. And I think it fits every demographic. I think even non-beer drinkers would be like, oh, we have a milk stout. I think that would be pleasing or appeasing to everybody. Did that recipe make it here to Austin Street Brewery? Do you brew it here?
Yep.
Nice.
Right in the cooler there, 6th grain.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Milk Stout. Yeah, it's pretty close, honestly, to what I was homebrewing. I think the biggest thing, I kind of locked in like the specialty malt blend or whatever pretty early on, but it was just like kind of figuring out the alcohol percentage. And I was just always happier with right around like 6.5 for some reason, even though it's a little higher.
Yeah.
But I don't know, just like the flavor profile of that. But go much higher than that, and it gets kind of like an imperial and a little more
Right.
intense and boozy. So.
Yeah, exactly. A little sweeter.
Was there a homebrew group that, or like, how did you learn all of this on your own, or people, or
All mostly self-taught, you know, internet, obviously,
yeah.
like some of the classic books. There's a homebrew shop nearby here, but I never joined a club or anything.
okay?
No.
But that's usually probably where you got some of your ingredients and different things.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to go to the local homebrew shop almost exclusively for stuff.
Yeah.
Even though it was more
Nice.
expensive, it was just nice to go there, talk to the owner,
And support,
Yeah.
yeah.
support local stuff, and yeah.
Very
Awesome.
cool. I love that
So
much.
during this time he's homebrewing, Will, I know you were probably trying every batch of beer. At what point where you're like, I think I could do this with you, or I want to do this with you, or how did that get approached?
Yeah, I was just like Jake said, I was just there drinking the beer and trying to stay warm in the garage. And we
Quality control.
lived on Jake lived on Austin Street, which is the name of the brewery comes from. That's where we're home brewing. So
Okay.
we're
It's
hanging
also
out.
your last name too, though. Okay.
Yep.
Just
And
kind
it's his first name.
coincidence.
Yeah,
honestly.
coincidence.
Yep.
So I just hang out and hanging out there. Also working in the automotive world, and then I was saving money to do something at some point in time. I was actually looking. It sounds like so boring and crappy, but like franchise world. So
No,
I had
not
a
boring.
customer at the dealership that owned a bunch of Dunkin' Donuts,
Yeah.
and he owned them down in like the Maryland, Rhode Island area. And I started thinking about it. I was doing that. Because I didn't have a craft really. So I said, if I don't have a thing to sell, I started looking at franchise or
Yeah.
bringing a franchise into the state that wasn't here yet.
Yeah.
And then, Jake started making awesome beer. And so I remember someone gave me advice. They're like, when Jake asked, because it was really Jake's idea. And when he asked me about it, I was like kind of nervous. It's just a big, it's like,
Yeah.
we're going to take this big step. And someone said, well, the beer is awesome and he's going to do it with or without you. He's going
Yeah.
to find a way and it's going to become something good. So you can either do it with him or you can not do it with him. And I was like, okay, let's do it. So
Yeah.
that was good advice. I don't remember who that was. Thank you.
Yeah.
Who that was.
Anonymous person.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was cool, and that was a great way to get things rolling, and it was
Okay.
like super exciting. And we were bringing the beer, homebrew beer, everywhere. Like Jake was the initiator in getting the beer bottled. We had it labeled Austin Street Home Brewery, and we were naming the beers, and we were bringing them all over to other breweries like Oxbow Brewing. Big shout out would be they would sample the beer, and we would ask for their candid feedback.
Oh, nice.
Navarre Res as well. We'd drop beer off and ask for their feedback, and people were giving good feedback, but meaning that doesn't always be positive. It's
Right.
like good feedback is good feedback.
Right.
Yeah.
Because when you're home brewing, your friends are just like, oh, free beer.
Yeah.
And your mom's just like, I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
You're not getting anything. You're not like
Yeah.
actually getting, no one's actually telling you if it's good or
Yeah,
bad.
that professional criticism. They're
Yeah.
saying like, if you guys want to do this, we want to make
Totally.
sure that you are sustainable and like, your dreams
Yeah.
are successful.
We didn't want to jump in if it was just going to be all fluffed up by people. Like obviously it's not a foundation we want to start on. So that was super helpful. And that was something Jake initiated as well and was not afraid to get out there and be like, let me know what you think. I was
Yeah.
like, oh God.
Nice.
Well,
Go ahead.
What was that like for you? Like, what was the vision? Like, what was that strategy?
Yeah, I think Will kind of touched on it. I guess just getting better feedback from like actual beer drinkers, people who are like us. They drink beer critically. They sip it and swirl it and like geek out on it. So yeah, going to Navarre Res in particular, knowing that everyone there is a tried and true beer geek.
Right.
Other breweries as well. So yeah, just trying to get that good, honest feedback. Because yeah, it's like, I think it's good, and here my mom will always tell me it's good or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, we need to branch out from there and get some
Yeah.
actual feedback.
Yeah.
So, how long did that process take from like when y'all were like, okay, let's do something, to when there was like some more serious next steps for y'all?
Many years. Probably 5 years
Yeah.
of homebrewing.
Yeah, I was gonna say 2010, but maybe 2009 we really started to homebrew a lot more and started really thinking about maybe we can actually do this.
And I remember,
Nice.
for some reason, May of 2013 stands out in my head as a time where we said, let's do this.
Yeah.
That was the final, go ahead.
Yep.
And we started looking for space. I don't know why that day just sticks out in my head. But
Yeah.
No, I think that's the step where you were like, okay, now we're finding a building, finding brew equipment, we're doing this. Nice.
Yeah, I think a big part of it too along that was just kind of looking at Maine Beer Company and Rising Tide, local breweries, who both started out very small, one-barrel brew houses, listening to podcasts. They're like, you can do this with a one-barrel brew house, like, for pretty cheap. And so that's what we did. We jumped in with one unit and one-barrel system.
Yeah.
yeah,
This
I
is-
think $30,000 was everything to start.
Yeah.
Wow.
A really bad business plan, and we jumped
yeah.
right
Bad business plan, but just no fear.
Passion.
Just
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah.
Was this the original spot, or were y'all somewhere else previously?
No, we started on an Industrial Way, which is the other incubator area of Portland. Allagash is there to this day. Battery
yeah.
Steel's out there.
Okay, we've been out
Definitive
over there.
Foundation, and it's actually where Rising Tide and Maine Beer started, in the same building in one of the
Oh, wow.
units. It's there's 14 units in that building.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
It's great. They're 1,500 square feet each. They're pretty affordable. They have floor drain. They're heated. Single bathroom and a little space for a tasting room, and then there's warehouse space out back. So it's a really great starting spot.
Nice.
And I think the lease was $1,300 a month
Yeah.
for 1,500 square feet. So it was awesome.
Yeah.
Great. I mean, really cheap. And we kicked it off out there. We also started within 6 months of Bissell and Foundation all in the same building, and it was
Wow.
absolute madness from the start. Because Bissell started canning substance right away, and people were freaking out about 16-ounce cans. It was just got going because Hetty Topper and was really pushing that vibe up in the Northeast, and then Bissell jumped right into substance cans, and it was a shit show, and in the best way every single weekend. It was
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's all of those breweries right there. Were y'all all talking with each other and
A little bit. We were all so busy though.
Okay.
'Cause we were still working our regular jobs too for a
Okay.
while.
At
So
least
we
early on, yeah.
40 hours during the week. We'd run the taste room Friday evening, Saturday afternoon, also brewing and trying to package kegs, and then back to work on Monday.
it was just the two of
That's
y'all?
wild.
Yeah, Jake switched over. We had to switch Jake over to full-time brewing earlier on because he just needed to be there with the
Yeah.
product earlier. And I did both for I don't know why, but for 2.5 years I did both. So I was doing, all night, all day, 7 days a week for 2.5 years. Yeah.
That's
And
a
then-
lot of blood equity, blood, sweat equity
yeah,
right there.
It was
That's
wild.
crazy.
I think we just weren't sustainable enough, and I was really nervous about making the jump without being able to pay my mortgage, and the brewery just wasn't ready to pay me yet. I was still taking money from my paycheck to pay for expenses. Like we're still floating the capital to keep the business rolling during that time. I probably could have gone a little bit earlier, but what got me through was I quit my job. It was Labor Day 2016, and I sold a car I had, and that car got me through the winter into the busy season of the next year. So that car like paid my mortgage for the winter. And
oh, nice.
I think like right before I started paying myself, it was like the bank account has like $1,000 in it, and I was like, all right, I need to start taking some sort of salary.
Yeah.
But we did it. We got through it. So.
Nice.
That's wild.
So that you said that craziness was about 2.5 years for you. So 2014, is that when you guys started in that industrial way location?
Yeah, it was
Gotcha.
April 12th, 2014 was our first tasting room day.
Okay.
Wow.
What was that like?
Go ahead.
Mad. Go for
Yeah,
it.
I mean, we had one beer
Yeah.
because we had a one barrel system and nothing else was really quite ready. I do remember, day one was crazy. We had a food truck there. It was a line out the door all day, even though we only had the one beer. And then it was like the next Saturday was like day 2 essentially, and like nobody was there. It was sort of like, okay, we tried you out. You still only have one beer probably on that day.
Yeah.
So then it quickly ramped up from there, but that was kind of
I think it might have been the next day. I mean, it might have been Sunday. We got
Oh, it
there,
might
like,
have
oh,
been
we're all
Sunday, yeah, the very
stoked.
next
We're
day,
all
yeah.
stoked. Like, we did it. We're sitting out there in, like, lawn chairs in the parking
Nobody
lot, and
there.
nobody shows up. Like, not even friends or family. They're like, well, we were here yesterday. We're not going to come 2 days in a row.
exactly,
So,
yeah.
we're like, what have we done? Oh, my
my
God, dude.
gosh.
We're so fucked.
Yeah.
Did y'all open with the Palo?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, that was it.
Nice.
Yeah, Patina Pale. And if you look at the old menus, it was like a lot of the beers we have now. Rally is our session IPA that used to be called the Crushable IPA. We started with that. Patina Pale, 6-grain milk stout, and just started layering in beers. A lot of the beers you still see today.
Nice.
And the Patina recipe also hasn't changed. We've gone through different house yeasts over the years, like a lot of breweries, of course, but generally speaking,
The biggest thing we ever did was started dry hopping with Simcoe.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
That was an extra little layer. It sounds
I
kind
forgot
of
about
funny, but like getting Simcoe back in 2014 was actually kind of difficult.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of blown up now. Obviously, it's ubiquitous. It's available anywhere. But once we can reliably get Simcoe, it's like, okay, we're changing the recipe to add that in there on top of the traditional like C hops.
I forgot about that. That's
Yeah.
what, yeah.
But since then, it hasn't really changed much at all.
Nice. I find it interesting that now I feel there was that time period. I started in beer 2015, like in breweries, but everybody, I would say 12 to 2016, it was like the hops that you put in is almost like what really sold your beer. It's like, oh, this has like this new experimental hop, or this has this. And people hadn't even tried it before, and they would be like, dude, we got to get like 8 4-packs of this. And I'd be like, I can't spend $300 on like 2 flats. I don't know if I'm going to drink all of it. And like, we just got to get it. But now it's like come full circle. I find again here in 2024, going into 2025, hops are like a big thing that draw people into cans, into can purchases and buying beer, especially being next to Bissell Brothers, where that was also part of that era of like forum trading, beer trading, sending it across the country. I remember friends in Washington State, we'd have beer shares, and I would just go to my local craft beer bars and get something that, get a couple bottles and like, they'll like this. And they would literally be like, how much those beers cost? And then they'd be like, kind of divvy up and be like, okay, well, I can share these 2 with you. But like, and I'd be like, what? Wait, they're like, well, I flew it over. It's smuggled in some dude's dog's cat carrier. And I'm just like, oh, this was a beer share. But yeah, that hype was very, very real. Take it very, very seriously.
It was a wild time. We never were in line waiting anywhere because we were always dealing with our queues at our spot. So we would get fed certain things, but it was really end of the day, we'd kind of swing over to, we go to Bissell a lot and have like a shift beer. Like we'd walk over at the end of the day and just be like, today was crazy. Like you got to survive, and just drink some like substance short pours kind of thing.
There
just
you go.
hang out. And that was kind of like our like end of the night. But everyone was just so exhausted.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Just went home.
Oh,
with
I'm
the
sure.
day.
That's so wild.
It wasn't like the party scene I think some of us maybe anticipated. It was just like, no, I need to sleep.
Oh yeah, definitely
business
a sales point of working in the beer industry. They always say, oh, you get to hang out like with your family or your coworkers, and you just drink beer and it's all good. And then sometimes at the end of the day, it's like, I don't want to be around any of you.
Yeah.
Please,
Yeah.
let me just go home and take a Tylenol and go to
Yeah.
bed. At what point did you start to see Austin Street Brewery really start to take off and obviously growing?
I think kind of right away. Not to like pat ourselves on the back. It was really a product of being in the right place at the right time, which is also an annoying thing to say as a business founder, but
I think it's true though.
Truly was.
Yeah.
Like if we just, I think we would have been discovered eventually, but that was just, everyone would come in and just hit the 3 breweries and roll out.
So perfect.
And then we pretty much within a year were we were on a 1-barrel system. Bissell started on a 10, and I think Foundation started on a 15-barrel,
That's
a
crazy.
legit systems, and we didn't. We were on a 1. So we had 4 2-barrel fermenters.
Yeah.
And we just we have to get more equipment.
Yeah.
So I think we did our first upgrade in 2016 with a 10-barrel brew house.
Okay.
And all the fixing. Well, some of the fixings.
I think that contributed, though, to having a 1-barrel system made it kind of hard to tell, like if you can't sell 1 barrel of beer or whatever, obviously you should not be upgrading your system. But yeah, just the rate of sale on that sort of beer obviously was just disappearing. We'd run out of beer sometimes on Saturdays. And
we got to a point where we were open on Saturday, and it was we try to minimize our hours to maximize people being able to see us and not coming in and being sold out. But then that just built on the scarcity model, which we weren't doing intentionally.
Yeah.
It just was unintentional scarcity where the smaller the hours got, we got to a point where it's open on Saturday at noon until sellout every single Saturday. And it wasn't a big feat because we weren't selling a ton of liquid, but we were brewing as much as we could. We weren't doing any wholesale. And we were still filling 32-ounce growlers. So we didn't have cans until 2018. So we had 4 years.
My gosh.
We filled hundreds of thousands of growlers.
I'm sure y'all did.
Oh, yeah.
I don't miss that.
Purging with CO2 and hand filling off the
So you don't want to bring it back? All the lonely growlers you probably see at garage sales now, 15 of them just lined up.
I just sit there on the tasting room for 6 hours some days on Saturdays and just fill growlers for 6 hours. And there's just a line out the door down the parking lot, and just letting the taps just open Oktoberfest and just slide the next growler in because I know they're going to keep coming.
That's so wild. We were because I've filled a few growlers before, growlers, and I remember we were at Sierra Nevada in North Carolina and seeing their crowler machine, and I was just it looked like a spaceship, and it would take the can up, and I'm like, what is happening right now? I'm like, this is on another level of It's so wild.
It's like a controlled environment, and I think it also fits.
They just literally just put it in.
Yeah,
they just put it in, and it would do everything. And I was just like, what?
We missed that era. We were too early.
No, yeah. Well, it's also probably a $50,000 growler filling machine.
We've never seen it anywhere else, which is probably for the reason, but
runs off solar. For sure.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh, that's so amazing that y'all were just selling through. So y'all upgrade to the 10-barrel system. Yep. How did that feel?
Scary.
Yeah.
I had no professional brewing experience besides what we had done, and we built the 1-barrel system ourselves
from scratch. Yeah.
So I obviously knew how that worked very well. So yeah, it was a little crazy during the first couple 10-barrel batches. I remember bitterness was a big factor, trying to figure out how to scale from a 1-barrel to a 10-barrel. Grain is easy, that sort of thing, dry hopping, but trying to figure out those bittering hops. And just realizing that the 10-barrel system we have extracts so much more bitterness than a little 1-barrel glorified homebrew system. So the first couple batches of patina were pretty bitter, but quickly backed off on that. But
we call this an experimental number 1. Yeah.
It can always be pale ale pilot. Yeah.
Did you have anyone y'all have all those people next to y'all at the place you're at? Did you have anyone come in and be give you any tips or tricks or anything? Or?
I don't remember exactly, but everyone out there, Foundation and Bissell, we're just very helpful. Bouncing questions off of, always happy to help out, always happy to talk, either via text or just right in the moment, literally brewing, what do we do now, sort of stuff.
Nice.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was about to say, how was the kind of the brewery industry community as up-and-comers, new up-and-comers for you? I mean, especially, it seems like the Maine beer scene really started to take off at that point where there's new breweries opening all the time, whereas they're kind of any gatekeeping where people open arms.
It was pretty much open arms from what I remember and from who we talked to, I guess. I guess we always just talked to the people who worked at our favorite breweries.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, nice.
Oxbow is one for sure. Maine Beer Company. Rising Tide moved out pretty quickly, so we didn't really talk to them a lot necessarily. But yeah, I'd say no real gatekeeping at all that I remember.
That's so amazing. I love that so much. Very cool. So y'all are in 10-barrel. How long were y'all there before y'all decided y'all needed to upgrade again?
We opened the Fox Street location. I think our first brew was Thanksgiving 2018.
Okay.
And we opened the tasting room here December of 2018.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
So just about 2 years on the tin barrel there.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So the 10-barrel brew house that you can kind of see through the glass there, a handful of fermenters, the glycol chiller, the boiler, conditioning tanks, tasting room, were all in one unit.
Yeah.
One 1,500
So
square foot
packed.
unit.
Oh,
It
yeah,
was
that's tight.
Insane. Especially summertime when we're brewing and there's no ventilation really in there. It's just the one bay door.
Yeah.
It'd be like over 100 degrees. And yeah, it was
All
time.
steel building too. Steel siding, steel roof,
Yeah.
An oven.
an oven,
Yeah.
no
Literal
shade, and it would literally be like it would get up to like 110. And the tasting room staff is standing in the brewery.
Yeah.
Through
Essentially
the
like
serving
a few
window.
feet from the hot liquor
So
tank.
hot.
Like,
Yeah.
And trying to get beers to pour when the draft lines are, it's a whole thing.
Getting
but-
heated up, so it's all foamy.
Yeah.
Wild.
But we were busy enough that they were keeping pretty chill. But moved everything over here, and we actually were only, I can't know how we did it. We were only down for 1 week. The brew house was only down for 1 week. Somehow
That's
we were
right.
able to get
Oh, that's awesome.
everything from there to here and only miss 1 week of brewing.
That's
wild.
good planning.
And it helped that, like you said, Lisa and Dylan came in on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah.
They were like kind of looking for an excuse to be away from their families and not have the usual commitment. So they're like, oh, we'll brew.
Yeah.
So they came in, hang out, and brewed and celebrated with a beer or two afterwards. And
Miller Lights. I remember I had the picture.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
think
Oh,
I
that-
might have dropped them off some Miller Lights. So
Oh, that's awesome.
Once they were done working, of course.
Yeah.
That's
How
How
awesome.
did y'all find this location? And was Rising Tide's already here?
Rising Tide was already here. We were talking to a commercial real estate broker because it's so competitive in Portland. It's just hard to find space. You got to have a person. Things go so quick. And we looked at a bunch of places all around. We toured, I don't know, 4 or 5 spots, maybe more. I don't really remember. And then this came up. Actually, the owner of the building reached out to us directly and said, "Hey, we're thinking about offering this space. Are you guys interested?" Because we
Oh,
looked at
wow.
another space they had that wouldn't work, but we seemed to hit it off with them. They really wanted to work with us. And yeah, the space was, it's awesome.
it's
Such a
amazing.
great spot, great opportunity, really expensive, but at the time we're like, we just have to find a way to make this work because we saw the motivation or the need to move, and it just worked out super well. I don't know what we would have done if we didn't do this. But.
Yeah. I was going to ask, was there pre-existing infrastructure around here that it also fit well, being like, okay, this is not just like some ghost town part of town, like there's foot traffic, because living in the van, we park in the park and ride and sleep, and you can walk from here into, the port in like a mile and a half, and I'm like, to me, I'm like, oh, all this is pretty walkable. Oh, was that set up previously or no?
I think location, was a big factor in coming down here for sure because our other spot is in the same exact town, but it's like as far out as you can get, basically.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, being in Portland was great. Rising Tide was already here. This building was definitely different looking when we first
Yeah.
looked at it. The space in particular was kind of wild, but yeah, location was very important for
Yeah.
sure.
Do you remember what the building was previously or originally?
Bunch of stuff. The room we're in right now, the tap room here, was a truck wash bay.
Yeah.
So there are these two big overhead doors. You'd pull a big, like a semi truck in and wash it, and then pull out the other side.
Oh, nice.
And then the island out on the patio was diesel pumps. You could pull underneath the canopy and fill up with diesel. So it was kind of a truck service, towing, recovery place. There was also like a commercial laundromat. It was a bunch of different stuff. And the
Yeah.
building,
Gotcha.
original building is in the middle of this row, and it was built in the 60s, and they added on to both ends over time. We actually haven't found a lot of old photos of the space. The people next door have a photo of it when it was a tow truck space.
Okay.
Oh, gotcha.
Just very industrial, and Portland zoning is crazy, and there's only certain spots on the peninsula where you can manufacture something.
Okay.
This is one of those areas. That's why there's a lot of breweries in this
Yeah.
area. It's kind of like the same thing out on Riverside where we started, where it's like this zone allows for us to brew beer and sell it in our tap room.
Okay.
Whereas it can't really be done in a lot of places
Other
downtown.
places. Okay. Good to know. We didn't know that.
Yeah.
So that's pretty wild.
Gotcha.
Yeah. We love that was like one of the first things when we came into the tap room. I'm all about tap room, and how it feels and the vibe and everything. And the windows are incredible. I love the space so much. It's so unique, and you can still see into the brewery, which is really cool. But just, I don't know. I feel like I'm outside, but still I don't know. I love it so much.
A lot of plants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did y'all come up with kind of the vibe for what the tap room was going to feel like?
I think it's just sort of evolved and sort of become this almost on its own.
Yeah.
I don't think me and Will would take a lot of credit for being good at interior design and whatnot. We did have the concept of all the glass for sure. A lot of it was here, but then like a lot of the front wall there was actually just kind of walled in.
Okay.
It had been bay doors, garage doors at one point, but reverted
Gotcha.
all that back
Yeah.
to glass. And yeah, the sunlight and stuff was very important for sure, but beyond that, the plant thing has just sort of gone crazy. And
The ferns are
It's
wild.
awesome.
ferns are gigantic. We
Yeah.
bought those just as regular size, off the shelf
Yeah.
ferns, and they're like 20 times bigger
Yeah, how long have y'all had those?
since almost day one, right?
Yeah, they're probably, they're 5-6 years old.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was so wild.
They all
One of
survive. They're all the originals too. We bought this many, and this is how many? It's like 14
my
to
gosh.
start. Little tiny Boston ferns.
It's so
Wow.
funny because
That's amazing.
one of the first signs I saw up on the counter was, yes, the ferns are real. And I was like, what ferns? And I was
Comic,
like, oh, those ferns.
Very common question.
Yeah.
Because they're just like comically large.
They
Oh,
are.
absolutely.
People make assumptions. It's like, no, they're real.
Yeah, yeah. Do y'all have a plant person that comes in and takes care of all the
We
plants?
do.
Yeah.
Yes, we don't do this. I did the ferns myself for a very long time, and then finally graduated from that. And there's someone that takes care of everything for us. It's a lot of work. They're in here weekly. They do a great job. They
Yeah.
keep everything looking great.
Looks
They
amazing.
propagate. We've sold some plants that we've grown here. We've actually sold them off.
Yeah.
Oh,
because
very
it just-
cool.
It turns into too much of a forest.
Yeah.
We had a huge fig tree that we sold.
Okay.
That was just overtaking the space. Like you couldn't walk underneath it. It was
It was kind of awkward.
a
Yeah.
literal tree in the middle of the district.
Yeah. It looked really cool, but yeah, people are like ducking underneath.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's wild.
Very sweet.
How did y'all come up with some of the logos and how y'all would design the labels and everything?
The initial logo, which looks similar to what we use now, was just literally a mash paddle.
Yeah.
Like a classic, like sort of line drawing of a mash paddle that a friend did for us. I think possibly for free. And that design and that logo worked out great for a while. But yeah, we since started working with a designer who was doing our labels and kind of convinced us it was time for a rebrand, a little
For an upgrade.
refresh. It's kind of funny because he was approaching us and trying to be a little more ambitious about it, but then ended up coming back to like the original design and just sort of modernizing it and kind of cleaning it up and making it a little more original,
Yeah.
but still very much based on a mash paddle.
Yeah. Love
Gotcha.
it.
Your brand and marketing is very on point. It's
Yes.
very clean, distinct,
Yes.
gives a good profile. So kind of with that personality, how do you transition that into like the beer that you brew? It can be ingredients, hops, or maybe you just want to make beer for everybody to drink and enjoy. It could be as simple as that. What's your kind of ethos around that?
It's always been, I guess, about having kind of a wide-ish profile, but not trying to do every single little thing.
Okay.
We want to have a good lineup for people to come in and drink, like something lighter, something hoppy, or darker, or whatever. A good range of beers, but yeah, really trying to keep it tight, keep it kind of succinct, as one of our beers is named. Make sure we have something for everybody, but not literally every beer under the sun.
Yeah.
Nice. I think that's
Yeah.
good.
It's definitely helpful, I think, whenever you come into a place and you can kind of pick and choose a couple different things. Because sometimes I get stuck in a rut for beer and I want to just drink the same thing or like similar styles. So it is nice sometimes where it's like, I know I could have a style that I know I'll love, but it's like, it is a good place to like come and try something new. So
Yeah, a lot of the beers we brew too are like we describe them as it's our iteration of such style. So we don't have a lot of like unique styles per se. We tend to like drink a beer that we both enjoy and we're like, wow, we should try to replicate this. Or the staff is talking about a beer they want to try out, and we only brew what we like to drink, which has kind of always been one of our sayings too. We're still 50-50 owners, so there's nobody
like that.
advising us on what to do. So if we don't enjoy it, we don't make it.
Yeah.
And we will pull beers from the portfolio all the time. We're just like not enjoying this beer anymore. Like then we're just not going to make it because why would we? Unless I guess if the world was obsessed with it, but we're not that big, so we can still make those decisions very much like in house. But
It's based a lot too, I guess. Like what we brew now is based on like our staff. Like they'll regularly come to us and they've got ideas already. It's like all we do is like throw that out there, like, hey guys, any ideas? And it's just like they start kind of flying.
Yeah.
firing at it.
Yeah, they've been waiting. It's like, yes.
Might be like a lot of pushback, a lot of filtering through those,
Yeah.
but they always have great ideas. They always have stuff they're excited to brew, so that's never an issue anymore.
that's
Awesome.
How big is y'all's staff?
Right now, it's about 15.
Okay.
It's pretty lean. That covers both tap rooms, leadership, management, back of house, front of house. So,
Yeah.
yep, pretty lean, tight team. Most folks are full time, full benefits.
Yeah.
That's how we usually run things. We got a couple part timers on the bar, and it's great crew. We've had employees here for 7 years, 6 years.
Wow.
A couple folks for 6 years, one for 7. A lot of long term. We don't hire too often.
Nice.
So we tend to people tend to stick around, which is great.
Yeah.
If you're going to talk to somebody about like keys to longevity in retaining employees, what advice would you give them?
You just have to. I think I just talked to someone last night about this. You have to invest. This is like cliche, but you have to invest in people, and I think there's 2 ways to do it. You can invest in the people you have and keep them, or you can invest in hiring people all the time. And that with a road. So it costs money to hire. It costs money to train. It also costs money to keep people and keep people happy. So
for sure.
I'd much rather own and operate the business where you're spending the same money to keep people versus spending money to replace people. So that's always kind of been a more fun way to operate a business.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a big shift for us too, or like not really a shift, but like once we really started to have to hire multiple people, was like really focusing on core values, kind of almost above all else, like almost above experience and skill level and stuff. With the thought being like we just want to bring in good people, and from there we can teach anyone how to do this stuff. We've been doing it long enough. We can teach you how to brew, how to package beer. But the biggest thing is going to be, are you a good person? Are you going to be someone we want to be around 40 hours a week or more?
Oh, I like that. No, that's a really good point of view.
Yeah.
That's
Our interview process doesn't really touch on skill set at all. It's completely conversational, multiple rounds. We do stage shifts on the bar. I mean, it's all about like the fit. And we tell the people that we're interviewing, like, we want you to come in here and meet people, and we want you to get an idea too. Like, is this a good fit for you?
Right.
Because if it's not, then you shouldn't be here. And there's a ton of other breweries to go work at.
There are plenty of other breweries to work at. Yeah, I love that. That's a great ethos, and I think you can kind of tell whenever you come in, like you feel like you're coming into a place where people like know the regulars, or they know each other, they get along. So
they enjoy being here.
Yeah, you can definitely. It's different than just the person who's like, "What beer do you want?" They're a little bit more. They spend a little bit more time having conversation with you and stuff at the bar. So that's pretty amazing. I love that so much. So here at this location, so this was open. Y'all first started brewing in November of 2018. 2018.
Yep.
So Thanksgiving. So do y'all do like anniversary parties or anything for the brewery?
Yeah, we do our anniversary every year. We do a double IPA as the beer for that. That started out and kind of continues as a way to mess around with some fun hops.
Yeah.
Also a way to use up.
Yeah.
Like
Clean out the cool.
You kind of
Exactly.
end up with like 11 pounds of this, 11 pounds of that. And sometimes they're really cool hops, but it's not quite enough to do like a whole new, like add a beer to our lineup. But it's enough to do like one 30-barrel batch.
Nice.
So yeah, it's a fun way to experiment with hops in particular, but also yeast and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Very
That's just
fun.
sort of always been the traditional anniversary beer.
Nice. And
But-
people look forward to it, I assume.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Wonderful.
It always sells out really quickly. And yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, very nice. Do y'all do any other like parties or activities or things to keep people into the tap rooms?
Yeah, we do a lot of that here. I think a lot of breweries have done that nowadays to keep the tap rooms busy. Is special events. I mean, comedy shows, trivia, that type of stuff is pretty typical. We have a general manager here named Britt, and she is like just a badass special events person.
Very cool.
And she handles, it's kind of her space really, where we're sitting right now, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I don't mess with anything anymore. I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
move anything around. I'm like, it's your spot.
Yeah.
And she just constantly bring in like public events and private, semi-private events, and just keeping it rolling. We like to be able to keep the tap room open if possible. So we like the semi-private where we like have a space set aside for a
Right.
group of people where folks can still roll in and try some beers.
Right.
It's like nothing worse than making a pilgrimage to like a brewery you want to try out, and it's like someone's like wedding welcome, and you're like, and which is like fine, but
Right,
it's like.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've been there, so
We
that
used to-
happens here. I'm not going to say it doesn't, but we try to avoid that
Yeah.
at all costs. And what's cool, a lot of events we do is like after we don't stay open we're open until like 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
So a lot of our events will happen after. We may close like an hour early.
Okay.
Oh, gotcha.
But yeah, we do like big Oktoberfest here. We do the anniversary party every year. We try to have like a good anchor event every month and just keep it rolling.
We did like a food truck festival
Oh, fun.
about a month ago, and it was really only like 4 or 5 food trucks, but it was slammed here.
Yeah,
It was
y'all have
wonderful.
such a cool space. Y'all have all this space out over here with the parking, and then underneath the overhang, and then y'all have a good parking lot over there.
That's
so.
good to pitch. We're right off 295 in Portland with
Yes.
plenty of free parking.
Yes,
So, yeah.
yes, lots
It's
of free
hard.
parking.
Parking is not easy around this
pretty
city,
rare
so-
in this town.
We're definitely-
Most,
It
as most
is.
cities, yeah.
Well, I mean, living in the van, like it is difficult in Portland to find parking, and we paid $30 to park down, by the river or by the water a couple weeks ago, and then we realized we're like, we could park over at the park and ride or something. I don't know, wherever,
Yeah.
and walk the 1.5 miles. And we're like, I'm gonna do that, like.
Get our steps
You
in.
can get whatever you want in that parking ride too. So.
Yeah, I'm
No,
sure.
trust
As
me.
a full service parking ride.
It's been a wild couple of years.
The cops,
over
the
there.
cops,
I'm
I think
sure.
know us, but like, oh, they're not like zombie homeless people.
Yeah,
They
we're in
like
and
have
out
their
all
shit
the
together.
time.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
need something to drink. You need to get your brakes replaced on your van.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
there's a battery
They get-
thrown
they get-
behind our van last night.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah.
Like all the different
Yeah.
stuff.
Anything-
That's
one-stop shop for that parking ride.
yeah, no, for
Love
sure.
it.
So a couple more questions. Anything that y'all are looking forward to, like any events or like other than your anniversary, or any cool beers that you have coming on
What
tap?
date is your anniversary? Because we can make it a story clip and put it
Yeah.
out.
The anniversary date is April 12th.
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
We've since kind of smartened up in a way, and we do the party in May.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
gotcha.
weather in Maine can be unpredictable any time of year, but
Yeah.
in the middle of April can be like really sketchy. Like it
Yeah.
can snow then.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do the party in the mid-May, usually
Yeah.
mid to late May. Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah, we have like just the normal holiday stuff coming up. I built this like Christmas tree essentially. It's just lights on a pole that
Oh,
I
nice.
put on the roof of the building. That's
Okay.
up there all the time. So we do like a Christmas tree lighting on Thanksgiving Eve.
Okay.
Oh, that's awesome.
And just kind of have people hear live music. We go in the parking lot and just like click the button and turn it on, and
Nice.
just kind of like a way to kick off the holiday season around here. And yeah, just kind of rocking through the holidays. But yeah, keep an eye out. We have a great events page on our website, and Britt does a great job managing everything on social media and what's going on. So there's always fun stuff. We do trivia here every Monday night. We have live music every Wednesday night. So there's always some fun
Always
stuff
something.
going on.
Yeah. Especially now that it's dark at like 4:30.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Got to keep away those. I mean, Sunday's scary, but just the dark depression of
Yeah.
winter.
Yeah.
It's like, no, come be around people. It's okay.
Yeah,
For sure.
that's what we say. And we're gonna do a really cool for January this year. We're gonna really lean into non-alc options. We're gonna have a lot of great non-alc options
Okay.
here, because the thought is that a lot of people will buy non-alc beer for dry Jan, and then they kind of like take like off-prem and drink it at home.
Yeah.
And it tends to be kind of like this month of hibernation. The thought here is like you can still come out and you can still hang out with friends that are having beers, drinking alcohol, even if you're not. So trying to make it we're all about inclusivity, so trying to make it a more like inclusive space in January. Like you can still come out and like be social.
Yeah.
You don't have to drink. There's no expectation here that people are
Right.
consuming alcohol. It's like just come enjoy the space, see your friends, have a good time.
It's awesome.
And
Good awareness.
We'll see you whenever you're
Yeah.
drinking again. If you're
Is
not in
that
school.
is the non-alcoholic? Is that something y'all brew those in house, or do y'all bring stuff in?
We bring stuff in,
Bring
yeah.
stuff in.
But we have like a lot of like sodas and seltzers,
Yeah.
and we talked about doing like a non-out cocktail, like large batch we could put on draft or something like
Yeah.
that. Would be kind of fun. Like
Yeah,
Oh,
that
rad.
would be cool.
put on ice and maybe have some herbs or something like that.
Oh,
Would be
yeah.
Yeah, like
cool.
a garnish.
That'd
Nice.
be-
Yeah, just make it fun, you know.
Would love that. I know back on the West Coast, we did some dry January last year. Or something
Yeah,
like
they
that,
do a bunch of
and-
mocktails
Yeah,
and things like that.
it is fun to have like your little cocktail glass with a little garnish, and just feel like you're drinking something that you're not gonna get drunk off. So
That's one of the things about the non-alc is like you're kind of like feel like, oh, I'm like trying to do this on my own. It's kind of a private thing. You don't want to be. There's like a stigma. That's really kind of going away. So I think now this is a great way to just like
yeah,
come on in, like hang out, have a good time, enjoy
Love
the
that.
space. So
and it is nice, even if you're not doing dry January. Like even like being able to, like sometimes we work a lot at breweries, and so sometimes it is nice to not have to sit somewhere and have to drink a beer. You can drink something non-alcoholic, which is really nice.
Yeah.
It helps too that non-alcoholic beer has gotten
Way better.
vastly
Oh,
better
yeah.
huge improvement.
It's
than
not
it
like your
has been,
Closton
like-
Holler or whatever it is that was always
Yeah.
available at bars.
Yeah, no, that's amazing.
O'Doul's.
Yeah,
Dusty
St. Pauli
O'Doul's.
girl. Yeah.
Dusty O'Doul's in the back.
Literally just boil the alcohol off.
I just learned today that St. Pauli has. I always thought St. Pauli's was just a non-alc brand. There's a regular St. Pauli's that has
Oh,
alcohol,
really?
and I had no idea.
Yeah, well, that's
I
I just
would've
learned
never
that. Yeah, I feel kind of embarrassed being in the industry for a decade, but I just learned that like 2 weeks ago. So
Oh, that's great.
someone that works here used to work at a distributor that had it, and I was like, who knew?
Who knew?
Sorry, St. Pauli's.
Yeah. Now we know.
Now we know.
All right, are we ready for our last
Yeah,
question?
let's do our last question.
All right, if y'all were to give a piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be?
And it doesn't have to be strictly related to like starting a brewery or
Yeah.
craft beer. It could be anything.
Yeah.
I'm not good at these sort of questions.
That's okay.
It's very like introspective sort of questions, I
It
guess.
could be, yeah. It could be. It doesn't have to be like super deep either. Like we've
Oh,
had
yeah.
a wide variety of.
We've had some
answers.
people say hands at 10 and 2, and it's like perfect.
My dad used to say, keep the shiny side up.
Yeah.
Like, try to keep it.
Try to keep the car up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
I guess-
Shiny side up.
I guess for me, I've always struggled, honestly, with like self-esteem, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I would go back and tell myself, like, trust yourself. Like,
Yeah.
you can do anything, basically. Like,
Awesome.
you are intelligent enough, you are motivated enough to do what you want to do.
I love that.
Awesome.
That's good.
Yeah.
I think I'd go back and tell my younger self to embrace and do more stuff. I wouldn't necessarily been an outgoing person, but there were definitely points in time where I was living in Pennsylvania for a while, and I was near Pittsburgh, but never went into the city once. And I'm like all these like vacations in time when I was younger, where I just didn't really take advantage of it and do things. And I'm like, why didn't I do that stuff? It's a great age, and so I think I go back and tell myself like, look around a little bit more and like just kind of expand your mind a little bit.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And just kind of like take advantage of.
Not just with drugs.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. There's other ways, life experience.
Yeah, hit that park and ride. You can
Yeah.
see anything you want. Yeah.
People watch for 12 hours at the park and ride.
It doesn't mean it's there. It just you still
Yeah.
experience it. Yeah.
No, that's great.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank y'all so much for y'all's time. We're
Yeah, we
so
appreciate it,
excited to
Jake and
share
Will,
this.
sincerely.
Yeah, we
Absolutely.
love y'all's beer and y'all's tap room and everything. So we're excited to spend more time out here.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
All right.
Thanks
Thank
so much.
guys.
Cheers, friends.